Paul,
Yes.
you need a mic for people in the back when they talk. We can't hear them.
Absolutely, or we'll just repeat their questions.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Well, welcome. Tonight we've got some really good topics for you. We're going to talk about winterization, we're going to talk about marketing and retention, and how to maximize the effect of your online ads. Welcome, we've got a good crowd tonight. I'm Paul Smith, the Director of the Apartment Association. And before we begin, I want to just kind of give you a couple of announcements. Next month, we have our annual meeting. It is on November 17th. That is a Tuesday, so not the normal Thursday that we do them here in Salt Lake. It's Tuesday, November 17th, and we have some special things going on. At 6 o'clock, we have an orientation, and now that's not just for new people, that's for everybody. We're going to talk about all of the services the Apartment Association offers, from the forms, how to use them appropriately, the background checks, the online payment processing service that we have, all the directories and some of the other resources that we have available for you. That part of the meeting starts at 6. Then at 7, the annual meeting begins, and we have the board of directors, and the president of the board will be here to talk to you and tell you about the direction that they're taking things and get your input. And then after we elect the officers and the board members for the upcoming year, we'll have a legal seminar. Kirk Collimore Jr., who is a great speaker, will go over all the legal issues and answer your legal questions. So it's always the best meeting of the year, those of you that have been before. It's full, get here a little early. It's a good time. We'll have refreshments and everything. So that is November 17th, Tuesday of next month. Now, how many of you have properties in Salt Lake City? Okay. How many of you have recently been asked by Salt Lake City to let you in to do an inspection? Good? A couple hands. Okay. What are you telling them? What's your answer?
No.
Yeah, the answer is no. Okay? State law changed 2 years ago prohibiting cities from doing inspections. The intent of that law was that cities could only do inspections based on cause or complaint. And the city council in Salt Lake City was mad about that law and instructed their attorneys and their staff to find a way around it. And so they have been out there, they do believe that they interpret the law differently than us. And they've been out there trying to do inspections, but everybody knows what the law was meant to mean, even if they don't think it means that. So here's what happened. Yesterday we met with the city, and it looks like we're going to come to a compromise. We basically said, well, if you interpret the law differently than us, Salt Lake City, we'll run a new bill and change the language to whatever you need us to say so that you're clear there's no inspections without cause or complaint. And they did kind of wheel and deal with this. And what it looks like is that every property that's in the Good Landlord program in Salt Lake City will be exempt from license or from inspections, and only those properties that are not in Good Landlord programs can have periodic every 3-year inspections. Are you happy with that?
Yes.
Okay, so in the meantime, the answer, if the city wants to schedule an inspection, you can do 2 answers. Number 1, you can just stall and delay and hem and haw, or you can schedule it for March. Okay? We'll have it all fixed by March. The ordinance goes before the council in January, and if you schedule it till March, it'll be fixed by then. It's up to you whether you just want to say no, whether you want to say March, whether you want to just stall. But the reality is Salt Lake City is not punishing anybody or taking any action against anybody who does not allow them to inspect you. Okay? So they may hem and haw and threaten, but they so far have not taken any action. And if they did, we'd get involved, we'd help you. So, does anybody have any questions about the inspection procedure in Salt Lake City?
Yeah.
Yes?
I'm sorry, it's my first time here, so
That's
I don't
okay.
know what is the reasoning? Why do they?
So for many years, Salt Lake City tried every 3 years to do inspections. And the reality is, they had 37,000 rental units in Salt Lake City. And I would be shocked if they got around to a couple thousand a year of inspections. That's a lot of units to inspect, even if they have multiple staff people. And typically, they go through, they give you a punch list, they got to come back and re-inspect. So it's a time-consuming process.
That's what I was wondering. What is the purpose of it? A punch list? They're trying to tell us how.
Some people in government believe they can't trust the private business sector, and they must do inspections to find the hidden hazards, the hidden dangers, the corrupt among us, if you will. And you and I think differently. We think most people are trying to do a really good job, and we shouldn't waste everybody's time. What we should do is just inspect people when there's cause or complaint. when a tenant says, I'm living in a slum, come out and take a look at it. So that's how we view it versus some people in government look at it differently. And let's be honest, people in the inspections business look at it as business. Of course the city inspection department wants to inspect everybody. It's job security, okay? And I can't tell you that I blame them for it. I understand and I disagree with them, but I understand I don't question their motives. I think that they are trying to do good, and they do think if they make you fix something unsafe that it's good for society. But that being said, Salt Lake City was doing 3-year inspections. The law changed it with the intent to stop them doing every 3-year inspections. They found a way around it. We've been advising you to say no, to not let them in. They haven't been taking any action against those that have said no. And we finally are to the point where, with the threat of legislation to fix it at the state level, they are kind of negotiating with us, and they're going to exempt all good landlords. Any other questions? Yeah?
From my understanding, when you purchase a property and try to get into the good landlord program, you have to be inspected at that.
That's right. The law says you can inspect a rental property upon initial licensure. So when you buy it, or when you first go to the city to get a license, or cause and complaint, and then no other time. Okay? And I like that. I don't think that we should waste public resources, their time, your time, unless there's a cause or complaint. Okay? Again, does that mean we'll let them inspect any time, any place that there's a cause or complaint? Absolutely. We have nothing to hide. But don't schedule. There's a big 400-unit complex that has never been inspected before. The city didn't bother for the last 20 years to inspect this complex until this new thing, and they're going out and they do 20 units a day, and then they give the apartment complex a 172-point punch list. 169 of those things were caused by who? Their tenants, okay? And so the landlord then has to do all of this work to go enforce upon the tenant. They have to charge the tenant. And you know what? None of it was very serious life safety stuff. It was just normal, general. The tenants, broke a light switch cover or took the battery out of the smoke detector or something like that. And every 3 months we're in there checking the smoke detector batteries anyway. So these issues were not, in my opinion, these humongous, huge deals. Like the city makes it, the city is making it hard. So, all right, well, let's move on. Let's talk about winterization, shall we? You've all got an article. It'll be posted online along with this video. But the article is on winterization. There's a story about a ranch hand who could sleep when the wind blew. And the ranch owner didn't understand what that meant until one day a storm came blowing in. And so the ranch owner went out and inspected the barn, and it was all closed up, and the animals were all put away, and the gates were all secure. And he couldn't find the ranch hand. Why? He was fast asleep. And the point of the story is, when you're prepared, you don't stress out. You can sleep through things. And unfortunately, every year, winter comes. And if we're not prepared, we can have some damage. What kind of damage can occur to landlords if we don't properly winterize? Freezing pipes. Some of us have had that happen. Sprinklers that break, and then the spring become a big thing. The most common probably, with all of our swamp coolers in Utah, is the water line to the swamp cooler having a crack and leaking and causing damage. But let's go through some of the main things that you need to look at. Number one is, of course, plumbing. All the water lines, exterior lines, should be turned off. Hose bibs need to either be wrapped and winterized or disconnected. Hose bibs are a big problem. How many of you have ever had one break and cause property damage? Okay, we have some people in here. It can cause, and it's always at an inconvenient time, isn't it? It's on the weekend or in the middle of the night, and so it's not when you're ready for it. It's sometime inconvenient. Swamp coolers, sprinklers. Typically you want to blow out the sprinklers unless you have those really good drains where it drains into the corners or something like that. Blow them out with compressed air. Anything else that you do on plumbing this time of year? Last night we had somebody that said every year at this time, they flush their water heaters. How many of you have ever flushed your water heaters or cleaned them out? Okay, some of you. Why do we do that? Those of you that do it.
Because the cold water will come in and crack your tanks.
Okay.
And then it also cleans out all the mineral base.
Yeah, primarily what we're trying to clean out is the deposits. And if you've ever seen the deposits in the bottom of a tank, it really looks like sand, but it's minerals and things like that that get stuck at the bottom. And what's at the bottom of a water heater? The burners. And so if you've got all this sediment and stuff, guess what happens? it makes it hard for the water to heat, and you actually over the years have less and less capacity. So if you just turn off the water that goes into the water heater, open the drain at the bottom, drain it all out, and on most of them there's also a place that you can insert a hose bib, or a hose bib where you can insert a hose, and you can then rinse it out several times and clean that out. That's something to think about. I'm not sure it needs to be done every year, but occasionally I think it might be a good thing. Okay, landscaping and roofs. I know many of you trimmed your trees in the spring, but what happened this year during the summer? They grew, and now they're back scraping and scratching your property, and they can damage siding and soffit and fascia and roofing. And so this is the time of year where you get up there and you cut that stuff back, or those winter storms, those branches are going to scrape you, or with snow on top, they come down and they can cause damage. So be aware of your landscaping. Remove all fallen leaves. How many of you have forgotten to do that? What happens in the summer, in the spring? Your grass died, okay? So you got to get those fallen leaves. Don't let them accumulate in corners. Don't let them, we raked a big pile last year, left it in the middle of the lawn. Guess what? The middle lawn was dead in the spring when we didn't get to it. So, all right, gutters and ground spouts. Why do you want to take care of that?
So the ice doesn't build up on your...
So the ice doesn't build up, so that you don't have the weight of ice or water breaking in the wintertime and causing damage. Okay, how many of you use those screens that go on the top to prevent leaves from going in? That's kind of a new thing. A lot of people go out and scrape them out, but those of us that are too lazy can put in the little screens, and then you can just wipe off the screen and not have to dig through the thing. They work pretty well. Okay, HVAC. What should you do to your heating system every fall? You might tune it up. You might change all the filters. Why might you want to change the filters before winter? Do you know that if you have a dirty filter, it makes your machine, your appliance work harder and it wears out faster? So one of the neat things about the new, very good furnace filters is they work so well that they can seriously damage your appliance if you don't change them regularly. Okay? Really, they catch so much stuff that they really make it hard they really have to work hard to pump the air through there.
How often? Once a year? Twice a year?
Well, many people, let's ask, how often do you change your furnace filters? What's your recommendation?
Once every month.
Okay, he changes it monthly. Does anybody else have a different one? Yeah.
Monthly in the summer and then every 3 months.
Quarterly is another recommendation. Okay, what else?
6 weeks.
6 weeks, month and a half.
It also depends on the filters you're buying.
Might depend on the filters. There's probably a manufacturer's recommendation. So I know people that change them yearly. I know people that change them every 6 months, 3 months, 1 month. It's kind of up to you. So
A lot depends on the property. Depending on how the ventilation works, some ventilation systems pick up a lot more dirt than others.
great.
We've got 4 different properties, and 2 of the properties, when I change filters every 6 weeks, are absolutely filthy, and 2 aren't. And so it just depends on the system, the way it pulls air in.
Great. He's got 2 properties that every 6 weeks are very filthy filters. 2 that it doesn't get them dirty. He can let them go a little bit longer. So, okay. Great. Doors and windows. Check all doors and windows for the weather stripping. Make sure that they properly close. I know most of us don't pay the utility costs, but the tenant does, and a tenant that has to pay a big utility bill is more likely to what? Move. Okay, tenants who feel like you're weather stripping and making the property efficient for them and less expensive for them to heat will stay longer. One lady told us the last couple of nights, she goes into her older buildings and puts thick plastic on some of the windows, okay? I know we know that works. She actually does it for her tenants in the winter, and they thank her for it. They say thank you, and she says, well, me doing this will reduce your heating bill $20 a month or $30 a month, and they very much appreciate it. So use it as an opportunity to, I don't know, what's the word, kiss up to your renters, to take good care of them. Build goodwill, there you
Or
go.
get in and inspect it.
Hey, and while you're there, Kim is so suspicious. I mean, she'll just take any chance she can get in there. She's going to look for the drugs and the unauthorized occupants and the dogs and all of those kind of things. So, good job, Kim. Way to go. All right, extermination, this is the type of year that spiders and rodents and things like that go inside. It might be a good time to at least get your tenants a can of Raid. Okay, I've got to admit that sometimes when the tenants call and complain about stuff, I take them a can of do-it-yourselfer stuff. Okay, but it's nice to have those cans, and I can take it over and they at least feel like I'm doing something. Some of you might pay for a full extermination. That's up to you. But one suggestion is go around the exterior of the building and seal off any cracks or holes in the foundation or the masonry. Rodents and mice can get in very easy, and usually they can get in, believe it or not, through a hole a little bit bigger than a pencil. Okay, so any hole or crack as big as a pencil, you can have stuff go in there. And so what do you use to seal it with?
Still wool.
There you go. If you use that foam stuff, that's yummy. They love to chew that foam stuff. So the recommendation is if you use the foam as an inner layer, then put steel wool, and then put maybe a caulk on the outside, because they won't chew through steel wool, where they will chew through caulk and the foam stuff. Okay. All right. What else do you do to winterize your properties? What do you do this time of year? Right there.
The newer sprinkler systems, the backflow preventers have a cartridge that has to be removed or it'll crack and break.
He says the newer sprinkler systems have backflow preventers that have a cartridge that needs to be changed. Okay, great. What else? Yes, Kim.
Clean the gutters out from the leaves.
Okay.
Dirt that may have accumulated.
Perfect. Make sure those gutters and drain spouts are cleaned out. Perfect.
I have an older property, so the hose bib, I put a little hood, one of the styrofoam hoods.
Okay, he's got the styrofoam hoods that he puts on the hose bibs. Great. Insulate those puppies. Anything else? Yeah.
Well, maybe a little sand or salt, maybe some snow shovels.
Okay. Yeah, what a good idea. Get the snow and the sand ready now. Get the snow shovels. If the tenants are responsible for doing their own snow, get them a shovel, get them the salt. Prepare them so that the first storm they're not unprepared. That's a really good suggestion. Thank you. Okay, well, let's talk about marketing. What are the ways that you market your properties when they're vacant?
KSL.
KSL.com, Craigslist are the top two, probably the most effective. I looked the other day at the online, or the classifieds. How many of us used to put a lot of ads in classifieds and spend a lot of money? I think there were 7 ads in there or something. There's not very many ads, not very many people willing to pay for advertising when KSL and Craigslist are so effective. Let's talk about why they're effective and how to make them the most effective for you. Number one, do you realize that KSL.com is an anomaly in the United States? To have a consolidated classified section where you can go buy pots and pans and cars and rental properties and you name it, you can probably find it on there. It's very rare and it's really unique. When people move from Salt Lake, they're really frustrated. They can't find the KSL.com in Phoenix or in Denver or in New Jersey. There isn't other sites like that. And so it's kind of renowned and received a lot of accolades for the reach it has. And one of the reasons is that they're committed to the user experience. Most websites, and I don't know the exact numbers, you'll have to forgive me, but they track by how long people stay on there. They do an average of, most websites people may stay on, let's say, a minute. Well, KSL.com, they track people stay on there 8 minutes. What does that tell you about the user experience? That they have a good experience and that they spend time on there. And it actually sells more advertising because they can tell the advertisers they spend more time on there. But what they have found gets people to spend more time on it is, number one, the volume of listings. Have you been on there and seen how many listings are on there? So you could easily get on there and spend a lot of time looking at listings, okay? That's one thing. And number two is the ease of searching and of looking. Now, how many of you admit it, there are some of us that figured out years ago that we put an ad on KSL and we got like tons of calls that first day. And then as the days went on, we get less calls. Why? Because we go down in the time search and we could just, everything added new is above us. And so many of us, let's be honest, figured out that all we need to do to get back at the top is what?
Turn it off.
Turn it off and turn it back on or put a new one. Many people, some of the big apartment complexes might have put 10 different ads for different apartments, and one today, one tomorrow, one the next day. And because the users don't like that. The users don't like the same ad 7 different times. They don't like, I already looked at this twice. Why do I have to look at this again? They've cleaned that up, and I know landlords and property managers hate this, but it's honestly made it better for the users and the consumer. And so if you're on there, even if you turn it off or on or you try to do a duplicate, it'll only keep your one ad, and it slowly pushes you to the bottom. So there's one suggestion I have for you. For $19, you can buy one of the premium listings, and you'll be on the top page. Okay? You're just in the top 3 or the top 10 or something like that. That's $19 for a whole month. And if you rent one day faster, because you're on the first page, that's worth that money. Now, I wouldn't do it the first day. I'd put it on the first day. And if you rent the first or the second day off not paying it, great. But if you get to the 3rd, 4th, 5th day, it may be time to go back in there and buy a premium ad for $19 to get yourself back up on the first page. Okay? Does that make sense? Everybody understand that? Okay. What types of ads are most effective on KSL?
Ones with pictures.
Yes. Okay? There are some old school people, or sometimes we're just too busy to put our pictures on there. You've got to put pictures on there. People don't look or click on the ones that don't have pictures. It's just dramatic, the difference. And don't just put one picture, put multiple pictures. The good thing about KSL, you know this, is that it stores it for you, right? So 3 years from now when you're vacant again, you just click, turn it on, and it's back there. You can use the same pictures. But definitely use pictures. Did you have a question? No. Second thing is use the text and use all of the search parameters wisely. Okay, for instance, if I want to go on KSL and search for a 3-bedroom home in 84117 with air conditioning, central air, and a 3-car garage, I can enter that. And what are the only properties that are going to show up? Ones that every one of those boxes was checked. And so here's the lesson. If you're in a hurry, sometimes you don't go, oh, I want to skip all these boxes, right? You don't skip all the boxes. You want to check as many boxes as are possible. You can't lie or anything like that. But you want to make sure you check central air, you check enclosed garage, you check patio, you check whatever it is. Because those things matter when it comes to a search. Does that make sense? Okay. The other thing that you want to do is in that description, don't be boring. Okay, what's a boring description?
2-bedroom, 1 bath. Come in today.
There you go, 2-bedroom, 1 bath, come in today. Guys, they already know it's a 2-bedroom and a 1 bath because it says it somewhere else in the ad. Don't waste that text. What is unique about your property that you could brag about, that you could really pull people in? Give me some.
5 minutes away from from I-15.
There you go. Close to the freeway. 5 minutes from
Walmart.
2 minutes from the grocery store. Okay? Crown molding. Ornate woodwork. Ceiling fans. What else?
Brand new carpet.
New carpet. Hardwood
paint.
floors. New paint. Exactly. Use that space. Don't reiterate things that are already in the ad. Okay? The ad already tells them it's air conditioned. The ad already tells them it's a 2-bedroom. It's a 1 bath. It already tells them the phone number and all that kind of stuff. Don't waste that space. Use that space to brag about the uniqueness of your property. Okay?
Also, something that I know that has worked for me is that when I do my properties, I say, for example, I speak Spanish as well. And that only brings not only English speakers, but also Spanish speakers.
Great. Great. So say landlord's bilingual. Perfect. Okay? Great. What else? Okay, what's the difference between KSL.com and Craigslist? Who goes to one and who goes to the other?
Out of state.
Okay, locals are more likely to do KSL.com because if you live in Omaha, you don't know what KSL.com is. You don't know what Rentler is, which is the company that manages KSL.com. You do know, however, what Craigslist is. It's a national, international recognized site. And so put it on both because you will find people from out of state are more likely to use Craigslist. Can I tell you where Craigslist is really effective? If you've got a higher end property or you've got something in a core area like Sugar House or downtown or someplace that people that are moving in from out of town want to be, you can put a property that you might struggle if on KSL it was listed for $1,300. You could probably put it on Craigslist for $1,500 and get a lot of leads. Why?
Some people moving.
They're from Los Angeles. $1,500 for a 3-bedroom? What a deal! Okay, they're from New York City or Philadelphia, and they say, amazing, and they look at your pictures, and they say, this is wonderful, and this is amazing, and they sign a 2-year lease, and life's good. So if you've got a high-end property, if you've got a unique property, if you've got a property in an area where out-of-town people are likely to want to be, Craigslist is probably one of your premier listing locations. Okay? All right, what else do you do besides the internet? What other kinds of old-fashioned marketing do we do?
Flyers, signs.
Let's talk about that sign, okay? A boring sign says for rent and the phone number, okay? The sign's big enough to put a little bit more on there. What kind of information should you put on there to limit the wasted calls that you're going to get? Absolutely the size, okay? So if you put a for rent sign, people looking for 1-bedrooms and 2-bedrooms and 3-bedrooms, they're all going to call you, and some of them are going to be wasting your time. So just put 3-bedroom, 2-bath, the main details, okay? Price, do you think price is important? Yeah, if you don't put a price, people call you and say, do you have a place? And you say, yeah, it's $1,000, and they say, oh, I was looking for something for $250. You know? Well, good luck. Okay, it won't be my place. So price. What else? If you have major restrictions like no pets, no smokers, you can prevent them from calling you and getting upset with you.
They still call.
They still call, says Kim. But yes. Well, I'm sorry they yell at you. Try to screen them out by putting no pets on there, and then just be nice to them when they yell at you. Okay, what else about the sign? What types of people do signs attract? People that are familiar with or interested in that neighborhood already. One time I put up a sign at 11 o'clock during my lunch break. By 11:30 I had a call from a young lady who worked 2 blocks away, and every day during her lunch break she would drive through these properties to see what was available, and she pounced on that because she could walk to work. Okay? So they are great at attracting people that want to be there. They're also great at letting the neighbors know that they could possibly pick their own neighbors, right? You tell a neighbor it's available, he might call his cousin or his best friend or her aunt or something like that, and you might end up with somebody. Now, if your neighbors are drug dealers, that's not good. But if your neighbors are solid, upstanding citizens who've been there for years, they're probably going to encourage you to move next to them. Good people, good renters. Was that what you were going to say?
No, I mean, it's on the same line, but I rented to a lady which she had a really good friend who needed an apartment, and then, oh my gosh. And then she said, this is a good one, I recommend her, this and that, blah, 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 blah.
Okay,
blah, blah.
so he had a case where somebody recommended somebody, and he took the recommendation, probably should have done a better background check. So our rule is, doesn't matter who recommends them, if President Obama recommends somebody to move in next to me, I'm still going to do a background check. You just don't.
I did, it just didn't work out. I mean, I called her employer, previous employers, friends, everybody, and everybody says fine.
Okay.
She's a great...
Sounds like an anomaly,
it's
just one of those
luck
things.
Of the draw, I guess.
Yep, luck of the draw. Okay, what else with signs? Okay, somebody said flyers. Who is the most effective people to pass out the flyers to?
Kids.
Well, the neighbors, likely, the people nearby, the businesses nearby. If you go to a big business nearby or a restaurant nearby, restaurants always have a problem with transportation of their employees. And they would love to have their employees stay closer to the restaurant. And sometimes when you go in and say, I got a vacancy, the restaurant says, oh, thanks for telling me I got 3 people who need to live closer. Okay? What other marketing sources do you use? Word of mouth, just get the word out there. Do you know there's a lot of people putting it on Facebook? Have anybody in this room, have you ever put it on Facebook and got a rental off Facebook? Okay, just checking.
Have you?
What's that?
I said we have a friend that does.
You know a friend that's done
He
it.
never advertises.
Okay.
He does it always through word of mouth.
Okay, great. All right, so let's talk about after we market and get a good tenant in there, how do we keep them? What do you do to successfully keep your renters? Well, first thing you need to do is understand why they moved. Do you know 50% of renters that move, we call it a preventable move? They move because they're mad at the landlord, they move because the landlord didn't take care of them, and they move to another rental property in the same area.
I'll tell you the main reason they moved, to
Okay.
get a clean place to live.
There you go. They beat your place up, and now they move, they have a brand new place to live. There's a lot to be said about that, okay? It's one of the reasons why it's kind of counterintuitive, isn't it? To have somebody live there for 2 years, it's now less nice than when they moved in, it's more worn out when they moved in, and you're gonna have the audacity to raise their what?
Rent.
You're gonna charge me more for something that's less nice than it was 2 years ago? How dare you? Okay? So that's why we always want to be properly maintaining and fixing up and doing things to entice our renters to stay. Number one is take care of them. If you'll fix things quickly, if you'll respond to them, if you'll just be civil to them. You'd be surprised how many landlords just aren't civil to their tenants, just don't treat them well. You're more likely to have them stay. Second is, don't give them opportunities to leave by having month-to-month agreements. What should you do at the beginning of your contract to encourage them to renew a year from now?
Higher day-to-day.
A month-to-month fee. You say rent's $1,000, but in a year, if you go month-to-month, it goes up to $1,200 or whatever your month-to-month fee is. So when it comes time to renew, you say, hey, Bob, I want you to pay $1,000 a month. You don't want to pay $1,200, do you? Let's just sign another year's contract, and he's going to say sure. Okay? So that's one thing to do. The second thing to do is find a way that you can entice them to stay by spending some money on it. Okay? Would you rather upgrade their dishwasher or have them move out? Okay? I'd much rather buy them a new dishwasher than have them move out. True story, a guy tells me he had his renters, been there a few years, come to him and say, the carpet wasn't new when we moved in, needs to be replaced. The paint wasn't great, so we need the place repainted and recarpeted, and we want to stay, but we really insist that you recarpet and repaint. And he said, no, we don't do that kind of stuff while the renter's there. So what did they do? They moved out, and what did he do? He painted and put in new carpet while he sat empty. What a waste. And he realized his mistake. Oh, what a dummy, I should have done it. So sometimes landlords get all principled, right? They get all haughty and inconvenienced. Oh, I don't want to do that. And they shoot themselves in the foot. The best thing to do is to retain them and keep them as long as you can by keeping their place nice. Okay.
I think it's hard to paint and put new carpet in when somebody's there.
I do. It is hard to put it in there.
They charge you to move the furniture, the carpet people charge you to move the furniture, to put it in and move it back.
It is hard, but you know what's harder? The $3,000 loss from when they move out. That's the average turnover cost is $3,000. And you know what else is harder? Is I don't know what the next tenant's going to be like. If I've got a mediocre to good tenant, I want them there forever. Because I get used to their idiosyncrasies, their issues, their complaints. I know how to deal with them, right? And so if I have a chance to get them, put new carpet in and new paint and have them sign a 3-year lease extension, I will do that any day rather than have them move and roll the dice on who's going to come next. Okay? All right, you have a comment.
Well, I mean, this type of business, you need to be really patient with people because you're dealing with people. I rented a house in Sugar House, and this lady, oh my God, every day there was something. It's either a light or the toilet or this or that, and I'm just going nuts. I'm about to say, you know what? Get your Lala out of here and go. But then I say, you know, I shouldn't say that because she's paying me $1,350. With that money, I pay my mortgage.
Yeah.
So, I mean, a lot of the times it's just they want to talk to somebody, especially an older lady. And then she asked me, Miguel, is it okay if my daughter and her kids move in with me? Yes! Please! Ask him to come.
Yeah.
Are you going to raise the rent? No! No. And now she doesn't call me that much.
So, if you didn't hear that story, he had a really pesky tenant who just always called and this and that and everything, and he was a little frustrated to the point where he almost let her go. And but he realized she paid him $1,350 a month. It paid his mortgage. The longer she stays there, he's paying down his property. He should appreciate her and be patient. And one day, she asked, could the daughter and the grandkids move in? And since he let them do that, she doesn't have to call him every day. She's got someone else to talk to. Okay? All right, great. Thank you for sharing that. Yes?
There was a tenant that was really wanting a garden, a small garden. So, and they found out we had our places up front. They found they had a large yard.
Okay.
And I said, certainly, you can certainly put, I mean, what would hurt a few cucumbers or
Yeah.
some herbs? And they're so delighted, I don't think I'll ever get rid of them. They've really moved in, put in the garden, they love it, and they keep telling me how wonderful it is to have a garden.
So she brings up what the next thing I was going to talk about is let the tenants customize the apartment. Sometimes landlords are real stick in the muds. We got rules. We're not going to let you get away with that. Guys, she wanted to plant a few cucumbers and pumpkins and tomatoes, and they'll probably be there forever because you let them have a garden.
They're so excited for it. The other landlord
love it.
left them.
Great.
They moved 2 blocks to our place because I said you can put some.
Great story. They lived 2 blocks away from a landlord that said, I won't let you have a garden, to a landlord that says, I will, and you'll probably have them
And I
forever.
met the landlord. She loved them. They always paid the rent. They kept the place immaculate. But she didn't want that garden and she lost it.
Okay, guys, think about this story. The landlord liked the tenant. They always paid on time, but she just couldn't stomach letting part of the yard be turned into a garden, so she lost a good long-term tenant. In the time that they stay in your place, she'll probably have 10 other tenants, do lots of damage and have lots of issues because she couldn't learn this lesson. And that lesson is we are in the customer service business. We are managing its eccentric and diverse personalities. And do sometimes they do things that drive us crazy? Yes. I'll tell you a story. A guy called me this week here at the office. He said, I got a duplex and I'm so mad. The one tenant is so loud. And I said, well, is the other one complaining about it? No. I said, well, who's complaining about it? He says, well, every time I go over them in the yard or something, I sit there and I listen. And I can hear the kids inside, or I can hear the mom talking to them. And I go and I talk to the downstairs tenant, and I say, is this bugging you like it's bugging me? And they say, no, we don't care. It's not bothering us. And yet this landlord is consumed with, oh, what do I do with this? How do I get rid of this person? Guess what? If it's not broke, don't fix it. Okay? You've got to learn to be a little bit tolerant in this business and patient. And you'll do better if you can let the little things go. I'm not saying let the big things go. I'm saying let the little things go. Okay? I have a tenant I've had 13 years. Okay? I'm not ashamed to tell you he's kind of weird. Okay? And he talks your ear off when you're over there. And you just plan on sitting there for 30 minutes talking to him whenever you're over there. And the other tenants and the neighbors are all used to him and they love him. He's a little weird. One time a tenant calls me. And she says, Bjorn's in the backyard. I said, okay. I said, and he's in a pink tutu. I said, okay. She said, and he's using his bow and arrow and he's shooting at targets in the yard. And I said, okay. And she said, what should I do about this, Paul? And I said, I'd stay inside. Okay? Is he really harming anybody? No. Is he weird? Yes. How much of my mortgage has he paid off in 13 years? Okay? How much money has he made me because I'm willing to be patient? When I go over there and I talk to him, I just have to remind myself, this is a long, loyal tenant. And if I do something to tick him off or I'm impatient with him, he could go and I could have a druggie move in there. Okay? I could have a picky person move in there that is a real hassle. So hang on to the good tenants as long as you can. Okay, last thing, let's talk about customization we're on. How else besides letting them have a garden could you let tenants customize their place?
And pictures.
Pictures, obviously don't fight on pictures, decorations. Curtains, let them hang their own curtains, who cares? Okay. By the way, when they buy curtains for your house, guess whose house they fit? Yours, not the next house. They can't take them with them, probably. So they're more likely to stay there. Another thing that I drove by an apartment community the other day. It had a big banner on the fence that said, pick your own paint colors. And I asked them, what are you doing? They said, well, we let them pick a color and then we paint one wall. We call it an accent wall. Okay, any color they want. And I said, why would you do that? And they said, well, because when we let tenants paint, they stay twice as long. Okay? And the research bears that out. If you let tenants customize their place, paint it, do it their way. I'm not talking about ridiculous, but for the most part, do it their way. Now, she says black walls. I do know a story of a guy who let his tenant paint the walls black with the condition that when he moved out, he'd paint them white again. This was a long-term tenant, been there 6, 7 years, he had a good relationship with. He trusted, he let him paint the walls black. The day the guy moved out 4 years later, guess what color they were? White. So, I'm not, if it's a brand new tenant you don't know, you don't trust, you may treat that differently than a long-term person who you know they're reliable and that they'll take care of you. Okay? Yes?
I have one last comment, and after this I'll say nothing. This house that I have in Sugar House, I'm in the military, by the way, and when I went to Iraq, I re-enlisted and we got a bonus for $15,000, which I put all that money in the house. I did all the windows, wood floor, the whole 9 yards. The house was beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
But we had to move to Sandy. So I learned to treat the house not as my house anymore, even though I had spent all that money.
Uh-huh.
It's a rental house.
Yeah. Okay, his lesson is, can we make our rentals too nice?
Yeah.
Yes. If you treat it like it's your house, sometimes you spend too much money and you may have unrealistic expectations about how well they're going to care for it. Renters typically don't treat things as nicely as you do. So he's learned, don't take a risk and put a lot of money, hardwood floors, new windows in a place like that. How much can you raise the rent if you spent $15,000 doing that? The answer is probably not very much.
Not very much, but has always been rented because it looks good.
Great.
The point is that, when I go to the house, sometimes I see scribbles on the wall and this and that, blah, 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 and I just look the other way. At the beginning, that used to bother me, but now it doesn't anymore because I get $1,350.
Yeah.
And the lady don't call me anymore.
Great.
So that's good.
Great. Thank you for sharing. One of the things that he just said was that when he spends a lot of money on a property, the first couple of years, he tenses up every time he sees a scratch or a nick or a problem. And that's another issue. When you spend a lot of money, you are going to be maybe oversensitive. He's learned to not be sensitive. It's sunk cost. It's in there. It's making it nice so that people stay there a long time. So thanks for sharing. Okay. Any other suggestions of things that you do to keep tenants a long time?
Birthday cards, anniversary cards, anything that gives them an incentive to care.
Yeah, guys, think of the salespeople that you're most loyal to. They remember your birthday. They give you gift cards once in a while. They buy you flowers in the spring to plant in the yard. Think of things you can do. Thanksgiving's coming up. Buy them a turkey. Christmas is coming up. Give them a bonus. In the spring, give them flowers for the yard. Do something nice for them. It goes a long way. Is that your experience? Great. Thank you. Thank you.
Had one for 9 years.
He's had one for 9 years because he takes care of them and he treats them like not like a tenant, like a what? Valued customer. Okay, treat tenants like valued customers and they will stay longer. Okay? All right, well, thanks for coming tonight. Hope to see you on November 17th here for our annual meeting. And if you have any questions, as always, just feel free to call us. We'll take good care of you.
I think I saw on my calendar that November 17th is Sunday.
Ooh.
Are you sure that's the right date?
Let's check that date.
November what?
What's, is it 19th? November 19th is the Tuesday. I apologize. November 19th. Thank you for fixing it.
Thank you.